We are privileged to have with us today, back with us in fact, a great friend of this program and Edenfield Suite with Wings for Life International. And of course, today we're going to talk about some workshops. And thanks for coming back by.
Oh, of course, I love to come. You do wonderful work here.
Well, thank you, and so do you. We look forward to learning. So you are involved with something new. It seems like every time I talk to Ann, she's involved with something new. That's a good thing. You have a Wings for Life family workshop that's in the works. Tell us about it.
No, it is. We are doing it.
It's moving. All right.
It is called Wings LifeWise, not Streetwise. We are
LifeWise.
LifeWise.
I said it wrong.
Yeah, it's LifeWise.
That's why you're here.
Family workshops, and we intentionally named it that because we are working with people that tend to be very streetwise, but they are not very wise in their life. And so we are going to teach them things that are going to help them deal with COVID, what's going on in COVID. So, well, let me back up. We got this contract with CYFD, the Children, Youth, and Family Department.
Okay.
And they said, well, you, Wings, can do things that as CYFD we really can't do.
Okay.
People don't want to talk to CYFD officials. They don't want to talk to probation parole officials.
They get nervous, don't they?
Well, they get very nervous because now they're under the supervision of a state agency. And so, but people need information. And there is an act called the CARA Act, the Comprehensive Addiction Treatment Act, that is available to all 50 states. So we have CYF running that program here in our state. So anybody that loses their children to foster care, if you've got fetal alcohol syndrome involved with babies, shaken baby syndromes, anything to do with young families, and if a woman is pregnant and delivers a baby and she's got any drugs in her system or in the baby system, they go in to the CYFD jurisdiction under this CARA Act. So they asked us, they know that we do all of our programs, our educational programs, and they said, could you create talks that are going to address issues that would be helpful to these families? We said, well, of course, that's what we do. So we do 8 workshops in a series. It's going to go on for an entire year. So we'll have 6 series of 8.
So do they repeat?
They repeat.
Okay.
We have 3 facilitators who are absolutely fantastic. 2 are PhDs. I'm just thrilled that they want to work with us. One's a motivational speaker. And so we have the participants for up to 90 minutes. They can join in on the call at any series of the one out of the 8 lessons. They will get a certificate after they attend each one of the series or each one of the lessons. And they talk about the speakers. It's a taped series that will be done by Zoom. So people will watch the speaker, and then the facilitator will then be able to ask, well, do you have any questions about housing, about food, and SNAP and WIC, and what is this, and TANF, and how do you get it? How do you deal with COVID? And if you're pregnant, what do you do? There's so many issues.
I was going to say, there's a lot of, and I don't mean this in the wrong way, but there's a lot of bureaucracy connected to connecting to some of these things. If you don't know how to do it,
absolutely,
you need somebody to tell you how do you do it, right? Because
exactly,
it's not just something that you just, I absolutely know how to connect with this program. So you help give them some of those pieces.
So we have connected to the top speakers that CYFD has recommended. We've taped them, and then they talk about their area of expertise. And so, for instance, like housing.
Good.
We've got Blue Cross Blue Shield, the Presbyterian Healthcare, and Western Skies, the 3 HMOs. So the top leaders in housing for the state, for the HMOs, if people are on Medicaid, well, they're going to hear from each of those speakers. When do you ever, it's kind of like the senior pastor. You don't get to talk to the senior pastor, you get to see them. But in this case, Blue Cross Blue Shield, how do you ever get to the top leader of housing? Now you're going to be able to see that person, get the contact information, and find out what can they do for you.
I would think, Ann, that those type of, and I want to talk to you about all the topics because I think it's important to hear, but just touching on that one, I would think that most people would be like, wow, I want to know that. Not only do I need to know this, I kind of want to know how to connect with
That's
that.
right.
So there's 8 different series topics. What
Yes.
are all of the topics
So,
dealing
okay,
with?
so the first one, we teach the 40 developmental assets from Search Institute. So these are ways to cut at-risk behaviors. No one wants their families to be in trouble. Nobody wants to have anybody going to prison. So we teach, how are you going to build these things? So that's the first thing. Then we have self-care during COVID. This is the top CYFD expert on if you are pregnant, if you're having any problems, what are the mental issues, how are you dealing through it, and now we're kind of back in it, COVID. Okay. Then we've got understanding healthy parent-child relationships. This is the top expert for CYFD for the entire state about what happens to babies in early development and how prenatal, how important that is in the first 3 years of life, how critical that is.
I just heard statistics that came out in the last few days that indicated that babies that were born during COVID, they were testing, and they were saying that their IQs had slipped several points. Isn't that interesting?
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, and I have a granddaughter that was born during COVID, so I hope that's not the case. But the interaction
certainly
and
depends on parental
of course it does. Yeah. But if you are not prenatally in a healthy situation with mom, if there's not a lot of communication, because they know that babies hear, they hear music, they hear the tones, they hear the voices. Yeah. So, okay, so the expert on that. And then, after a baby is born, how important those first 3 years are. Okay. Then we've got public benefits, SNAP, TANF, WIC. How do you apply for these things? These are top experts from the state. These are the leaders of these departments for the state that came in and talked about them. Then we've got housing resources. I've already talked about that. Then we've got our CPSWs and our community health workers. I didn't know there was a difference between a CHW, community health worker, and a community support worker. Well, there's a big difference, but they can help you. And how can they help you? And how do you get in touch with them? And this is available to anybody that is dealing with those 3 HMOs.
Now, there's one that caught my attention. It was called Guaranteed Ways to Get and Keep a Job.
Okay, well, you're looking at the expert on that one, and I teach that. And I guarantee, and I do this training for the prisons, I guarantee that if they follow what I say, they will get a job. And it starts with getting a job.
Do you follow that one with guaranteed ways to get and keep a raise? I mean, if you could teach that one too as a follow-up, I think you'd even get even.
Well, our follow-up to that one is, yes, it is, because here is why. I always say you start at the bottom, but you're in the field where you want to work.
Okay.
And that is key.
That is key.
When people walk in to my office, I say, don't you ever tell me you take any old job. That's the worst response ever. You have to be in the field where you want to be.
Good.
And then when you learn how to sweep the floor and you know where to put everything away, and then somebody says, hey, can you move up to the front desk? Can you do something there? Well, sure I can, and you know where all the supplies are. And you do climb that corporate ladder very quickly because you're in the field where you want to be.
That's good. That's good.
And a computer doesn't hire you. Human beings hire you. So I teach people how to build that relationship so that human being that ultimately hires you. So I guarantee if they listen, they're going to learn how to get a job.
Great.
And then the last thing is how to stretch that dollar. They're not going to make $1,000 a day like they did dealing drugs. They're going to make $10 an hour. Now, how are you going to survive on that? And I'm going to teach
right now
them
you
that.
might even make 15.
You might even make 15,
That's
even
right.
at fast food places.
That's true.
So we teach that. So we're going to teach how are you going to get and keep that job.
Well, we better, because we're about to run out of time. Tell us how folks can connect with getting involved with finding these resources. How can they sign up?
Well, the best way is our website. It's very clear on our website, WingsFly, it's spelled F-L-I, wingsfly.org. But they can go to our website, they could sign up, and it's a Zoom call from anywhere in the state. Anybody could join us, anywhere in the world, really, but in our state. So they could be rural, at home, on Native American pueblos, whatever.
Do you need to start at class 1 to go to class 8?
No,
or can you
they
start
can
at class
start
4
anywhere.
and into class 3 later on after you move
Absolutely.
the loop? Okay.
They can start anywhere they want to start.
Give us the website address. It's on the screen, but it wouldn't hurt to say
Yeah,
it.
WingsFly, that's FLI.org.
All right. So watch for this information. You know, so much of this, and especially if you know someone who has struggled to really integrate and to be able to thrive the way that they'd want to, many of these topics, practical stuff that can really change their life. And thanks for being with us today.
Thank you so much.